Who are you? Not the person you want the world to see. Not the person you've let others tell you you are. Not the person you wish you were. Who are you? If we want to do work that resonates with others, it first has to resonate with us. And the only way we can do work that resonates with us and who we are is to first understand who we are. My guest today is Todd Henry, and he has advice on finding the authentic you. Stay tuned. Good shows straight ahead on today's One Simple Thing.
It's time to build a better business by building a better you. This is One Simple Thing.
Hi there, Dave Kirby with you, and thank you for listening to another episode of our One Simple Thing podcast. We're nearing closing in on 300 episodes of this show, and I'm so grateful for each and every one of you that have listened over the last year plus, almost 300 episodes. Those of you who have shared the show with others, those of you who rated and reviewed us on iTunes or Stitcher or whatever, I really, really appreciate your help and your partnership to get the word out about this show. Also, want to welcome Speak Up Talk Radio. We are now on that website. And people, if you're listening to this show because you found it on Speak Up Talk Radio, welcome to the family here. I hope you'll go to iTunes and subscribe, perhaps leave us a rating and review. Let us know what you think of the show. And if you have any questions, you want to comment, you can always email me at dave@onesimplethingonline.com. That's with the number 1 in there. And if you'd like to check out Speak Up Talk Radio, it's just that, speakuptalkradio.com. And we're grateful to be a part of that platform. All right, on with today's show. Todd Henry is a man who teaches leaders and organizations how to establish practices that lead to everyday brilliance. He is the author of 3 books, The Accidental Creative, Die Empty, and his latest one called Louder Than Words. They've been translated into more than a dozen languages. His book, Die Empty, was named by Amazon.com as one of the best books of 2013. And his latest book, Louder Than Words, is about how to develop an authentic voice that resonates and creates impact. Todd, so thankful you're with me today on One Simple Thing.
Dave, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, your new book is called Louder Than Words, Harness the Power of Your Authentic Voice. It's just released here recently. And in this book, you talk about finding your authentic voice. So I guess I want to just start off by talking about what is the authentic voice and why is it important to us?
Well, when people think about authenticity, I think many people think about transparency. That's basically what they think of when they consider that word, which means I'm just going to be myself and open the kimono and whatever happens. And and I think that's a very short-sighted way to understand authenticity. Authenticity is important in your work because authenticity is a transmission to somebody else that you care about what you do. That you're invested. And I think we live in an age, Dave, where people are very skeptical. They're very cynical. They question motives. And if you want your work to resonate, if you want it to connect with other people, you have to help them see that you are not just putting something out there that you think is going to achieve an end for you, but instead you are fully invested in your work, that you believe in what you say, that you're putting yourself into your work, that you care about it, and that you care about the impact that it has in the world. So when I talk about developing an authentic voice, what I mean is rooting your work in something that really matters to you and then finding ways to infuse that into your day-to-day activities so that it connects with other people in a deep and resonant way.
Would the word sincere fit into this description? Like sincerity?
I think sincerity is certainly a part of it. That's one element of authenticity. I do think that it's possible to be sincere and still not resonate because I think it's not just about caring about what you do. I talk in the book about 3 elements of what I call the voice engine. The first part is identity, which is understanding who you are and what you care about and rooting your work in something substantive. And many people might think, well, I know who I am. I know what I care about. But I think often we get carried along by our work. We move through our days, we do our work, and we react to things in our environment. But we don't stop to look at patterns and see where we are especially effective, where we especially resonant in our work. And so identity is really about figuring that part out, which is kind of what we talk about when we talk about sincerity, right? I sincerely believe this is important. But the second element is what I call vision. Well, not what we all call vision, right? But it is vision, which means understanding understanding where you want your work to go and understanding your intended audience and shaping your work so that it connects deeply with that intended audience. Now, some people, when they think about authenticity, they might think, well, wait a minute. If you're thinking about your audience, that's not authenticity, because authenticity is about me. Well, no. Part of your authentic expression and creating impact in the world is understanding your audience and shaping your work so that what you care about will overlap with what they care about. And then finally, the third element is mastery. If you want to really resonate and you want your work to connect with the people you're trying to serve, you have to be a master of your craft. You have to be a master of your platform. And that's a part of authenticity as well. You have to know your skill set. You have to understand what you're good at, not what you wish you were good at, but what you're really good at, and also the skills that you need to develop so that you can implement your voice effectively and connect with others. So those three elements, I believe, are all a part of this authentic voice: identity, vision, and mastery. And they all kind of flow together to help you develop your voice over time.
And we're going to cover each of those individually over the next three episodes of the show. So hopefully folks will tune back in for those. You know, I'm just thinking back in my life, and somewhere I think we all kind of lose that authentic voice, or at least we lose track of it, right? Because stuff happens in life and we expose ourselves or we make ourselves vulnerable, and then people react less than favorably. So we learn to cover up that authentic voice, don't we?
I think it's very true. I think that over time we become self-protective. I think it's really easy to begin to protect the ground you've taken rather than taking new ground, and to preserve and protect and to kind of circle the wagons. And that's what many of us do in the marketplace. I mean, we settle in, we ride it out, we end up in a place of stagnancy and mediocrity. And by the way, that I don't mean to indict anyone who might find themselves in that place where they feel stuck, because I think it's a natural state for all of us. I think we all get to a point at some time in our life where we feel stuck. The question is, what do you do about that? Do you continue moving? And part of the reason people don't continue moving is because they really don't know themselves well enough to be able to spot the patterns, right? Or they don't understand who they are and the impact they want to have to the extent that they're able to muster the will to make it over the next, the next little peak of the mountain to get to a new place. And so, I do think that we forget ourselves, we lose ourselves. I think we rationalize that over time. We sell ourselves short in exchange for a little bit of attention in the short run, and we compromise value and effectiveness in the long run in so doing.
I think probably there's an element of fear too, that if I really get to know who I am and I really am honest about who I really am, that might require change that I'm not willing to make, right?
Yeah, and change is uncomfortable.
I'm afraid of what my life's going to have to be if I really get in tune with my authentic self.
That's right. And, it's funny because we often talk about fear of failure, and this is trumpeted all the time right now. I mean, you hear people write about it, they talk about it all the time, and it's all the rage in organizations. We need to overcome fear of failure and all this. I think fear of success might be more insidious, maybe more present in a lot of people's lives, especially people who are maybe a little farther into their career. People who are afraid, if I really succeed here, if I really do this thing that I've set out to do, am I going to be able to sustain the pace? Am I going to overreach my grasp? Am I going to, outkick my coverage, so to speak? I think that's a pretty destructive force in a lot of people's lives, and it causes them to kind of settle in and maybe aim a little bit, above the norm, but not really go for that thing. Because I think the moment we have an idea, along with that idea comes the sort of the conviction to act on that idea. And over time, if we ignore that conviction, it begins to wear down to the point that we can't even hear it anymore. And that's, I believe, when we start to get stuck.
So over the next three episodes, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, we're going to cover those three elements of the of finding your voice engine, as you call it. Why do you call it the voice engine, by the way?
Because it drives the process of, kind of like an engine drives a car, right? Propels it forward. These three things kind of work together in the lives of the people I looked at to help them become more effective and develop that voice that resonates.
So we're going to take a look at those over the next three episodes. But I just kind of want to cover here, so what signs can we look for along the way that will kind of tell us that we're on the right path, that we're getting close to really digging down to what that authentic voice is?
I think one thing that, and we'll talk about this again in future episodes, but I think one thing that we can be very consistently aware of is how other people receive our work. Our voice isn't just what we say, our voice is how we're heard. And one question I think we need to ask ourselves is, are there people in my life who will speak unvarnished truth to me? Are there people who will tell me what they're actually hearing from me, what they're actually seeing from me, the work that I'm doing? Is it consistent with where I say I want to go in my life? So part of paying attention to the clues is building a network of people around you who can keep you aligned and help you focus in the right place. So many of us get isolated, especially as we experience success in our lives. We become isolated and we're trying to figure it out on our own. And the reality is that, we are social beings and we really need other people in our lives to help us see things that may be obvious to them, but not so obvious to us. So asking somebody what's something obvious I'm not seeing right now can be a really powerful tool, but just having people who can speak truth to you and help you stay aligned is I think, essential in the lives of anybody who wants to make a contribution. And
that's not just something right now today as I start down the journey. That's something I've got to stay consistent with through the whole process.
Absolutely. Well, I will tell you that some of the most, I don't want to say depressing conversations I have, but some of the most concerning conversations I have, Dave, are with people who are very, very successful, extremely successful people, some of whom run, very large organizations, to the tune of billions of dollars a year. Who, when I ask them, what is the thing that is most difficult for you, they will tell me, nobody in my life will tell me the truth. Nobody will speak truth to me because they're the one holding the gun. They're the one in power. They're the one who is successful. They're the one who holds the keys to the kingdom. And so nobody will speak to them the truth because they don't want to be the person who gets shot, Yeah. And so, that is important for us. It's not the kind of thing where suddenly we can wake up one day and say, okay, speak truth to me now. I know it wasn't okay yesterday, but today, really, speak truth to me. It's the kind of thing you have to develop over time. You have to build a life where you're putting your guns on the table and you're letting other people speak truth to you consistently. And you're going to hear things you don't like, and you're going to hear things that might be wrong, by the way, but you need that data. You need to understand how you're connecting with others and how they're perceiving you, because your voice isn't just what you say, it's how you're received by others.
And that totally sucks, right? When people when people speak the truth to you, right? Because you're like, wow, there's stuff wrong with me. And that's not easy to hear.
It does. But, I think there are people, Dave, who would like to live with the perception of invulnerability rather than test their limits and find out they have some. And the truth is we have limits, and we need to be willing to stretch beyond ourselves. We need to be willing to fail when necessary. If you really want to do something great in life and in work, failure is going to be your constant companion along the journey. It's simply going to be, if you're stretching yourself consistently and you're trying to grow, you're going to fail from time to time, and that's okay. But you need people in your life to help you maintain perspective when that happens.
So we're nearing the end of today's episode, and I want to kind of put this into some practical steps that we can take. We call it one simple thing. So what can we do today to start down this path of finding our authentic voice?
I would say the very first thing I would encourage people to do is identify that person. Who is the person in your life who will speak unvarnished truth to you? And if you don't have someone like that, then you need to cultivate a relationship. You need to identify them, and then you need to build a relationship where you can have consistent conversations about life and work so that you can gain a better sense of who you are and where you resonate.
Todd, thank you very much for sharing. I'm looking forward to talking to you on the next episode.
Thank you, Dave.
Todd Henry is a brilliant guy and a wonderful author. His books have changed many, many lives, and his latest one, I'm sure, is bound to do the same thing. It's called Louder Than Words, Harness the Power of Your Authentic Voice. If you'd like to pick up your copy of that book, we have a link to Amazon. Just look for the banner ad for Todd Henry when you go to onesimplethingonline.com. and it'll take you to his Amazon page. I would recommend all of his books. The Accidental Creative, Die Empty was one that had a big impact on me, and of course his latest one, Louder Than Words. Todd's going to be back with us again. We're going to get into how to develop our authentic voice on the next episode of One Simple Thing. Thank you guys for listening, and I will see you next time.